Okay guys, let's start. So up until now, um, we have seen the selectors, the different way of selecting a particular or targeting the element. So CSS selectors, we have looked into that. We have covered the basic ones, which we use on a daily basis, and I have also shown you how we can, target that element and basically apply the styles to other element when first element is being acted upon. Like for example, if the first element is valid, then the second element, the label, gets the style and so forth. And we also looked into the CSS units and we discussed about various units like relative lengths and then finally the absolute lengths. The popular one is the pixel. We use pixels heavily on a daily basis, and in relatives we use percentages the most. Then comes the EMs, and then finally the viewport width and viewport height. Directly or indirectly, percentages and viewport width and height, they work the same. So you can say, like, we use percentages, pixels, and EMs on a daily basis. In today's class, we are going to look into some of the minor concepts that you may need on a daily basis. For example, some of the assignments that we saw the other day, people have used an image on the background of the body. Like for example, let's say Google image. So if I go here and I'm searching for uh, gradient color background, something like that, for example, and let's say I like mm, let's say I like this color. Okay, this image. So I'll simply save this image and then put it in my project. Save it. Now, if I want to add this image to the background of my project, like for example, I have this index.html open in the Chrome browser. Right now, if I want to put that image to the background of this, like right now it's white, I don't like it. So let's say if I want to put that image behind this, one way of doing it is saying the image, right? If I simply say image source and then name the file, which is this guy. Oops. Go to refactor, go rename, control the entire name, okay, and then say image source like this. What will happen is the image will take over the form, meaning the image comes here and the form is pushed back. I don't want this kind of behavior. What I want is basically go in the background of everything. So basically the background of the body should contain this image. So in CSS, we can capture that by using the background. So here we are using the background color for the body. Instead of that, I can say simply background and then pass in the URL of the image like this. And then simply f2 nbspj.jpg. I'll save this, and now when I go back, that image acts behind the page, right? Right. Let's say, let's assume for a second gradient background. Let's assume for a second that exact 300 and 200 pixels. Let's assume that my image size is only this much. I'll change the name so that it's easier for me to capture. I'll simply say 1.jpg, or let me say smaller. Okay, let's say my image is only this much. Okay, and here I go back and I say smaller .jpg. When I save this and when I refresh, you will see it will repeat the image, right? It is keep on repeating this image. I don't like this image. Hold on. Let me grab this guy. Download this image. Overwrite this. Yes. Go back and refresh. Okay. Now can you see it? It is repeating that image. By default, if the image resolution, okay, the resolution of this image, is 300 into 200, meaning it has a width of 300 pixels and have a height of 200 pixels. This is smaller compared to my screen width, compared to my screen resolution. Whereas this guy's resolution, I don't know if you can see it, uh, but this guy's resolution is 2005. Can you see this width? 2560, and then height is 1600. So this image is way bigger from my screen resolution. My screen resolution is 1600 width and 900 height. So since it is bigger than my screen resolution, this image will not be repeated. But this smaller image, since it is smaller than my screen width, when I simply say background URL and then pass this image, it will repeat to fill the entire screen. That is the default behavior. Okay. If I don't want this behavior, I need to say background, oops, I need to say background repeat and need to say no repeat. And when I say like this, go back here and I refresh it, the image will not be repeated now, right? Still, this looks weird. I don't want like this. I want it to be for the complete background, right? So I will say now background and look for size and try to increase the size and see what happens. For some reason, this is taking too much, like 200 pixels, 400 pixels, 500 pixels. Instead of that, how about I go with the viewport, meaning percentages, meaning my screen's width. So what if I say 10% of my screen width, 20, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. If I increase it and make it almost 100%, of my screen width. If I say that, then this image comes beautifully, like comes perfectly to behind my scene, right? So that is the background size that I need to put here. So if I say like this, now my entire image comes perfectly. So this is how we use CSS to put an image in the background. This can be kept in the background of the form. So currently I'm targeting the body. So if I take this guy out and if I turn on the white color and if I go to the form, okay, let's target the form which is, okay, there is no form. So let me add here form name. Oh, for the time being, let me first paste the styles. Take care of the indentation and then copy this guy and say equal to, save it. Now if I go back, it will be added to that. Now 100% is correct when it comes to, you know, going the width of it, but the height is kind of messed up, right? So we need to keep on increasing the percentage to fill in the entire form. So it's 3 or 5%, and now my form has a background image. So this is how, guys, this is how, here it is 3 or 5%, but I don't want to add styles like this, but let me copy this guy. So this is how we basically put a background image to any element or any tag, you can say. Clear? Clear, guys? How to put a background image? We'll be using this background, and then we'll specify URL. Then we'll say there is a repeat. I don't want to repeat it. And then finally we'll say the size of what kind of size you want to have that. Now from this point onwards, if I want to add a background color, I'll be specifically saying background color instead of saying background. Okay, because when you say background, now we know that you can add an image. We don't want to get confused between adding an image and adding a color. So we need to specifically say background color to have white. Okay, from this point on, background, if you simply say background, then I'll be expecting an image. You need to say background color to add a color to the background of the of that element. Okay, now for time being, let me comment that guy out. Let me uncomment this guy and want to have everything white. Okay, something like this. Now I want to have an image here. Okay, and I have this image with me which has a home, a back, and a forward arrow keys, all three together in a single image, right? and I want to place this home somewhere right next to the maps, the left somewhere here, the left I mean back arrow, and the forward arrow somewhere here. Let's see how we can do that. If I inspect element this guy, we got this UL, right? So we need to put here it is. Okay, we need to put back back arrow. Okay, and then this is the main nav. So in between, I need to add home button, and finally after the nav, I need to add a forward arrow. Okay, so let's say I have a div, okay, which takes the same dimension height wise what the li takes. Okay, so this guy this guy has a height of 58 pixels. So let me do this. Let me say style, okay, and then say width is 58 pixels and height is 58 pixels, like this. And let me copy this and put it same for the home button also. And then finally for the forward button also I want to have the same thing. Since these three are getting the same styles, why don't I just replace this with a class, and I'll say image img nav, image navigations for example. So I'll copy this style and copy this class, paste it here, paste it here. Now I'll go in my CSS, scroll down to the very bottom, and I'll say dot, and I'll say width is 58 pixels, height is 58 pixels. Let's save it, and for the time being let me put a background color of white so that we can make out where the div is. So if I refresh, it comes like something like this, right? Now they need to be placed right next to each other. So why don't I do this? Why don't I make LIs instead of dealing with the divs, because this div is out, they are following the document flow, whereas this UL LIs, they are not following document flow, they are positioned absolute, right? See position 30% and all that. So why don't I, instead of having some divs, why don't I do this? I'll control X, I'll control V, and then change this to LI, and similarly I'll come here, copy this entire thingy, and then simply paste here and change this to li, change this to li. Now if I refresh it, you see something like this. Go back and make this as 15%. 15% on the top looks good, it looks centered. And image, now they have a width and height. I don't need those dimensions anymore because the navigations of the LI will take care of that. So that means 15 is not centered. Let me increase it and make it 25%. So let's go back to the styles. Let's take out this, right? And then we need to look for this style, and then change this to 25, change this to 25%, and take the guy out, paste it like this. Okay, now they look good. Now what I want to do is have an image. Here is the back arrow, here is the home, and here is the forward arrow. So what I'll do is I'll select that class which has background color. I'll take it out and I'll simply say background, and then I'll say URL to get the URL of that image. Then use inverted commas and then say img underscore nav sprites.gif. If I save like this and refresh, you will see that it is getting all the three images. They are getting the same home icon, and that's because if I inspect element on this entire image, okay, this entire image, the first is the home, right? I don't want this kind of behavior. I want this arrow to be placed here. To do that, we have something called as background position, both position in X and in position Y. If I say position X on the first one, I can use the X coordinate, meaning in the image, let's say I have my image like this, right? I have an image like this. So first image is here, second image is here. So this is the first image, this is the second image, and then this is the third image, right? So we follow the X coordinate and Y coordinate. This is the Y coordinate and this is the X coordinate. So it starts with top left. Okay, here it is set to be 0 and 0. Now if I say positive X, that means the image will move in this direction, and if I say positive Y, then it will move in this direction. So what I mean to say is, if I go back here and if I say background position in X is 1 pixel, we need to negative it because we need to get this way. You will get that image. Do you see that? And then we'll get this image. If I go minus 91 pixels, then this style gets added. If I say minus 50 pixels, I get this style. And finally, when I say 0, meaning no style, I'll get the home. Well, home in the sense like this. But if I want to style it again, I can do this. See, if I go positive, it will repeat itself. See, it will keep on repeating itself. So we have a good option to basically deal with both positive and negative values, and then the image basically circles around. So if I place like minus 3 pixels, I'll get my home. Similarly, if I here and then say background position of Y and then say 1 pixel, it gets from the top to bottom. Since there is no image on the both top and bottom, it will repeat itself. So for the timing, I'll say 0, then say pixel. I want to place it like this. So this is how I can capture the background image and position it if there are multiple images. So like for this guy, this is the, let's say I have a back arrow and this guy has home button, and let's say this guy has forward arrow. So if that's the case, then I simply need to say uh, back arrow comma home button comma forward arrow have the same background this, but the back arrow has a background hyphen position as minus, what was it, minus 50 pixels. Okay, and then home button has background position in x coordinate is minus 50, in y it is minus 3 pixels, in x coordinate is 0, y coordinate is minus 3 pixels, and finally in forward arrow, forward D, and in forward arrow it is minus 90 pixels, and then y coordinate is 0. Again, the syntax is background position x coordinate and then y coordinate. That is the syntax. You specify the x coordinate first and then y coordinate. If I save it, go back here, I got something somewhat correct values, but looks like this guy needs 91 as the forward. Yeah, so it's 91 pixels. I was close. Minus 3 pixels. So this is how we use the background image, and then this is how we basically use the background position to position a particular element inside a particular image inside that entire image. Let's say the dimensions of this li needs to be increased, so I'll simply say width to be increased needs to be have 50 pixels. Looks like that too much, and then width is like increased by 5 pixels, and then height is increased by 5 pixels. Now when I do that, then its background position in x direction can be like this, and then from the top I need to place it like this. Now I see that black line and I want to avoid it. I'll simply go with the background uh, size, and I'll simply increase it by 1%. Like let's go by 1%, 2%, 3%. Okay, 315 is the position, and then X direction is this. I still don't like it, so I'll increase this by 1% more, and that's how my image looks like, which I'm not getting a perfect read on. So this is how this image looks like. So if I copy this entire style, go back here and put it to my background arrow, to back arrow, sorry. Take care of that indentation. Now these three styles will be applied to all of the basically all of the images. So if I go back and if I refresh, I just need to take care their background positions. So this guy is 0 background position, but let me reduce that to like this, and then Y is like this. Now this looks good. And then this guy so 98 and 0. So if I save it, go back, refresh it, this is how my arrows are going, my images are going to look. And again, I can, if I want, I can try to get the left working. Not here. I can try to get the left working, see if I can get the left to work. For that I need position relative, and now if I simply say position left is 0, and then, or if I reduce it to -1% based on the screen width, 15%, and then have a top of 1%. Percentages are not working, so let me try 2 pixel. Okay, and 10 pixel is the right one. So this is the style that back arrow is going to deal with. Now position relative is going to be standard for every image. So let me take that out. I want the home. So if I save this guy, refresh, and take this home button, try to position it. So left -2% looks good, -5%, and then top is, I think it is going to follow the same top 10 pixels. So let me take that out and put it as standard for everyone. Just deal with left. So here the left is -5%. And this guy is left, this guy is basically right of 2%. Oh, sorry, -15. So basically copy this guy and change this to right. Save it, go back, refresh it. Finally got my images working. Now you can always, since these LIs are empty, I can always have an anchor. Can always have an anchor tag inside them, and all of these will point to home button. All of these will navigate you to maps. Maps, and then save it, go back, refresh. So if you click on that, it will take you to the maps button. So this is how you place a background image. Clear? This is how you make use of background URL. Okay. This is how you make use of background URL and then basically deal with background positions, background repeat, right? And also we deal with background size to deal with the size of that background image. Using a single image like this with the required icons, these are called as icons, right? I mean, there is a home icon, back icon, forward icon. All of the three are merged into one big image. This entire concept is called as CSS sprites. Okay, what CSS sprites means, come on, where are you? That is weird. Home CSS sprites. CSS image sprites. You will be having, in any company, you will be given only one image which will have all of these icons. So you will be making use of the background, then put the URL, and then positions. You can write everything in one single line. Okay. So the syntax is, first is the URL, next is the X position, then Y position. And if you put it in a single line, you will get like this. You can write like this, or you can write the way I have written, which is separate a background position, one and the same. It's going to work, right? So this is CSS sprite, and this is how you put a navigation. So if I go like this is how you put a navigation. This guy added an anchor tag, and inside and he added the images to that anchor tag, but he's still using the position absolute. He's still using the background and positioning at 00, -47, -91, etc. Sourcing the file is the same, right? So this is how you deal with CSS sprites. This is going to be one of the interview questions for you. People will ask you like, how can you basically make like how what is CSS sprite or CSS image sprites, and then how can you make use of that? And the simple answer is, if more than one icons are merged into one single image file, we can basically make use of background URL, background positions, background size to select which icon I want to use and then put it there. Now in this case, in our case, we have three icons, right? 1, 2, 3. Instead of loading three image files, I'll be loading only one image. That increases the performance of the website. See, it is only loading one file now. If I have three, then 1, 2, 3, and each of them will take some time to load. The heavier the image, the slower it gets, because it has to download everything into its cache and then render it from the browser, from the cache. So these are the benefit of using CSS sprites is it is useful to increase the performance of the website. Okay. Instead of loading 3 images, we will be loading only 1 image now, right? So CSS sprites, what does this mean is if we have more than one icon, then we can merge all of these icons into one single image file. In CSS, we can use background URL, we can use background position, background repeat, background size to position or not position to pick one icon from the image and put it where needed. This concept is what we call CSS sprites or image sprites. During this process, um, what I was saying, you got the CSS sprites and positions. You do that, and yeah, during this process, the HTML will load only one image instead of single icons. This increases the performance as it has to load only once. So this is what CSS sprite is, and this is how we increase the performance. I'm just going to copy this guy here and paste the style like this. And just for the kicks, I'll simply say background position just to show everything in one single line. So this guy covers the background image, background size, sorry. So I go back here, paste. Then it also take care of the positioning and everything. So this is how you basically write your CSS sprites. Clear guys? This is going to be one of your interview questions. What are CSS sprites and how do we use it? Clear guys? So from this point onwards, okay, from this point onwards, whenever we need to add any image, okay, we will avoid using img source, okay, even if it is a single file, okay, even if it is a single file, we will see to it that we use background URL, not the image source. Image source is mainly used for header icon. Like if I have a, let's say if I have a DMV icon, let's say I have a DMV logo, for example. Okay, let's say I have a DMV logo like this. If I want to use this logo, Okay, if I have a DMV logo like this, and if I want to put this here instead of that home, but if instead of that home icon, I can simply go here and then I can use IMG source. So this is only used for DMV logo dot JPEG. Save it. So IMG source is only used for that image. Now this guy is way too big, so I need to reduce his size. So let me say width is 200 and then height is 200. Okay, 200 is way too much. So I need to change it to 100 and this guy 200. Okay, now this guy needs to be position relative and then top is 1%, 1 pixel, and then put it here somewhere there. Right, so 100 pixels, this and this. So let's try it. Now I don't need this home for the timing, so I'll comment it out and let's see how it looks like. Okay, this is how it looks. If I say display inline, well, because of the position relative thingy, it is hiding the height of that much. But if I say position absolute instead of relative, let's see what happens. I need to say minus 15 pixels and this thing. Now that image is there. So yeah, instead of relative, I should say absolute, and then it is minus 15 pixels. So we use that image mostly for the logo part, for the header part, usually. If not, you can always deal with background images and all that, and it will also work. Background URL. Clear? This is how we deal with CSS sprites. Okay? Clear, guys? Anyone have any questions at this point? Position is always the relative. Is position always relative? Sirisha, what is position relative? We discussed about it. But what is position relative?
In CSS stripes, is the position always relative? That's what we use, or we can change,
No.
right?
Right, but my question is, what is position relative?
The position is relatively placed, depending on.
What?
The position is relatively decided, that sort of thing.
No, 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 no. Okay, you are completely confused. Position relative means we are telling that element that you're not dealing with any position at all. Okay?
Is
That
it
is
like
the
not?
first thing. That is the first thing that we're going to tell. Like in this case, I am indirectly saying that this icon will not have a position fixed or position absolute, but instead I can treat this as a relative position. I can also say absolute, okay? But if I say absolute, it will break off from the document flow. I don't want it to happen that way. Relative means it will keep it in the document flow, still giving you the power to deal with top, left, right, and bottom. So that is what position relative means.
Okay.
So what I want to do is I want to still keep this element, okay, still keep this li in the document flow, but still I want to make use of this top nav because its immediate parent, which is ul, and its immediate parent, which is nav, that has a position. If this guy did not had any position at all, then I could have used simply box model like margin, left, right, and all that. But since the parent has position, I need to make sure that the inner child are also dealing with positions, right? I mean, I can take off this, okay, and if I take it out, I can say margin left, and I need to use some bigger number, and that see, it breaks off the page, right?
Yeah.
So this is not going to work for me. Or even yet, let me not use this margin left here. Let me use margin left here. So margin left 0 pixels and then keep on reducing it. See, it breaks the entire page. I don't want that kind of behavior. Since my parent already has a position keyword, I want to make use of the position inside my in the child as well. And when I do that, I can only change the position of that, I mean left and right of that particular element, keeping it in the same document flow. It will not going to break the document flow. Like if I say absolute, it breaks off from the document flow. You see do you see this?
Yeah.
It breaks off from the document flow. I don't want that either. So I want to keep it in the document flow as well as I want to individually change its position. So I'll be using position relative there,
Okay.
right? That's why I'm mainly using uh, relative position. Okay, clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
So guys, are you getting it? Why are we dealing with sprites? I want to show you one um, minor star. Sirisha, can you go on mute, please? Thank you. I want to show a minor uh, thing in CSS. If I select this form, right? I have selected this form here, and now if I say display none, what will happen is this entire element does not get rendered, right? This entire element does not get rendered. But let's say I don't say display none, but instead I say opacity 0. What this opacity 0 means is that the element is there, it's just not visible to you, meaning the dimension of that element is there, but the element is not rendered. Similarly, if I delete the opacity, similarly, we have something called as visibility of that element. Okay, and if I say hidden, what will happen is that element stays there. the dimensions of that element stays there. It takes up that much space. The space is not gone, but the element is hidden, right? So if I say visibility hidden, it takes the space, but if I say display none, the element is not even rendered, so it not even take that much space. All right. I mean, let me show you a good example here. The images, right? This images thingy, this li, for example. If I say visibility is hidden, the element is there. It takes that much space, right? It takes that much space. But if I say display none, you see the shopping took over, meaning that element was never rendered, right? So difference between display none and visibility hidden or opacity 0 is display none, display none. You know what, let me take that out. Okay, display none won't even render the element. It simply removes the element from the document flow. Visibility hidden or opacity 0 makes the element invisible but keeps the dimensions intact, meaning there will be white space in the browser for that element location. Okay, this is another interview question, commonly asked interview question. What is the difference between display none and visibility hidden? In display none, the element is not even rendered. It will not be in the document flow, whereas visibility hidden will keep the element there. Its dimension is going to be intact, but it is hidden. It is going to place a white space in the same location, right? So that is what the difference is. This is going to be one of the interview questions. Okay, this is like star 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 star. This is important. Okay guys, display none won't even render the element, whereas visibility hidden or opacity 0 will make that element invisible, but that doesn't mean the element is not there. It is there. It takes the white space. It makes that in that location of that element as white space. Clear? So in today's class, we discussed about the CSS sprites, making use of the background URL, position, size, repeat. Okay, and then we also dealt with display none and visibility hidden. Right now, yeah, that's it. Does anyone have any questions at this point? I hope you guys understood why I'm using position relative compared to position absolutes because I want to keep the element in the document flow, still have the power to use top, left, and right bottom, those values. Clear? Does anyone have any questions? If not, then that wraps up today's class.
Shrikar, hi.
Yes.
It's about the image files extensions we're gonna use. So would we have any differences like if we were to use JPEG extension or GIF or PNG, like like if we want to place some normal images on the browser, let's say on the
You
browser
can do it.
page.
Yeah, I mean my DMV file, the DMV image is a JPEG. Browser
Mm-hmm.
supports all sorts of image extensions.
Okay.
It is not going to support the Photoshop extension, PSD. It is not going to support that, but all the images like JPEG, uh, PNGs, GIF, and then there is I think TIFF. All of these file extensions are supported.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Shrikar, I have a question. This is Sirisha.
Mhm. Go ahead.
Uh, if I'm trying to make a website for a company, let's say Walmart, does do they give me the standard colors? Like,
Yeah. There will be okay. There in any company. Okay. See, the thing is, every company follows a privacy policy, meaning you cannot download the images like how I downloaded from Google Images, right? I downloaded this image, I downloaded that image and all that. So you cannot do that in any company, right? There will be a dedicated designing team who will provide you the entire style guide. Now, what is a style guide? Style guide is basically some guidelines given to developers like you and me, and they say like, okay, our buttons should be blue in color, our cancel buttons should be green or red in color. So those are the guidelines that they're going to give you, a set of documents. Okay, and then they will tell you like every button should look like this, every image should look like this. The image sprites, even they will be giving it to you. Like in this example, I am using this image sprite, right? This
mhm.
will be given by the designing team, and then you will be making use of that images, and then you'll be placing that. The style guide will also tell you the pixel values. Like I'm using 20 pixels here, right? For example, this padding, that 20 pixel, they will give you a sample style guide. I don't know if this guy, I mean, if I don't know if I can find, like, yes, you see this, the header, this banner, how it looks like. The style guide, it looks exactly like that. I'm looking for a style guide if I can get it online. Sample ones. Uh, style guide, CSS. I don't know if I can, um, or sample pixel requirements. CSS. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can find it online, but basically they will give you mm, sample style guide, style sheet, not style sheet, style guide for website. I don't know if in the images I can find it. Yeah, this is a sample style guide. They will tell you like, we need to use candy apple here, and then something like this. Our logo should be this much pixels. The icon at the bottom should be like this. Then you should have some content here. So a detailed, yeah, this is more detail actually speaking. Where is that? Why did I open this? I don't know if you can see this. Can you see that? That marking, it says that is H1, then that is vcard, then p dot intro. Dot intro is the class name. Dot v vent, that is another class name. So they will give you all this style guide, a detailed style guide, and also they will give you all the images like this guy. This is how it is. See, that X means instead of X, they will say like, that is the pixels, that many pixels you need to use. These are the fonts that you're going to use. So everything will be given to you. Your job is to simply put that in action and then, hook it up with your um, JavaScript. Because designers, they are good in designing the website. They know that I want to see Google icon here. I know I want to see a search bar here. But they don't know what happens if they click this button. That's when the JavaScript kicks in. We'll see the JavaScript in the next classes. Clear, guys? Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay. Any more questions, guys? Tomorrow we will be jumping into where is that? Animations. I don't see that. Where is that? This animations. Okay. We will also jump into how we can basically get this. It is already moved. Okay, never mind. But this guy is dealing with that. I am talking about this guy, animations. Like how the animation is taking place, like that. That green CSS3 came out. So we'll be dealing with that. So this guy changes color from red to yellow. Right? So we'll be looking into how we can get this animations up and running. And this includes the transitioning also, CSS transitions, both. So when I'm mouse hovering on this happens. I have used the same for my last name, for my phone number. I'm dealing with those CSS transitions. CSS transitions or animations both will, change the entire look of your website by introducing the animations like this, right? So we're going to look into that, okay, in the next classes, coming classes. Okay, guys?
Peter?
Yes.
Yeah, Sarika here. Have a question. Day before yesterday, we used Z-index, right?
Uh-huh.
Instead of using Z-index, can't we make our session to go up in another way? Other way means like we compulsorily we should use Z-index for the body.
See,
Like
the position, the display, all of this, the entire box model, they only work in two dimension, X and Y, right? Meaning I can place this guy, this is the best example, the header. The header is positioned on the top, which is Y axis. So it is Y pixels or Y units above the form. What Z-index does is, Z-index is basically the inside and outside what you call axis. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say you are viewing your website like this. Okay, this is your eye, for example, and this is your website. Come on, let me use a single line. When you look at your website, you're looking your website like this. Okay, I have my header from the side. I mean, I'm tilting it to the sides and I'm showing it to you. My header is somewhat coming here, and my form is coming somewhat here at the same level. They are at the same level. Okay, now when I'm scrolling down the page, what will happen is this form will come here at the same level, right? And either it will override. Let me change the color. Let me change it to this red color. Red color is my form. Okay, when I'm scrolling down, since they are at the same level, what will happen is either my header will hide because my form took over, or my form will get broken because the header takes over. Either of the cases. Since they are at the same level, and when I say same level, I'm talking about the z-axis. Z-axis is this way, in towards you, whereas this is the y-axis, right? This is the z-axis, this is the y-axis, and z-axis is towards you. And since they're at the same level, it will break your elements. Either the form will take over or the header will take over. I don't want those kind of scenarios. So instead, what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll make the header here. Instead, what I'll do is, let me rub this guy out, okay? So instead of getting into those kind of error scenarios, let's say I have a header here, okay? Come on. Let's say I have my header here. What if, come on, what did I do? So let's say this is my header. Let's say, what if I place my form a little bit ahead of my z-index? Now when you scroll it, the form will come on top and the header will hide behind the form. So for this to work, we need to add some units in the z-axis, and to do that we deal with z-index. So whenever you say width, okay, whenever you say width or padding or anything, it is in the x direction. Whenever you say height or margin top, bottom, it is in the y direction. There is no unit to the z direction. Now when I'm scrolling, see the header comes on top and the form goes behind it. And that's because we have a z index. We have a z index. If I don't have a z index, the form will take over. Or even if I take it out, the form will take over, and that is what breaking my page. I don't want that, so I want the z index to be of the header to be a bigger number so that my form hides behind it. So I hope this image makes sense to you. Yeah, so that's why we need to make use of z index. Okay guys, is that clear? In later classes, as I said, we will deal with animations, we will deal with transitions, and after that we will get into responsiveness. Once we are done with responsiveness, we will get into Bootstrap framework. Okay, Bootstrap CSS framework. This guy, this Bootstrap, has done the CSS for us, but we need to be careful when we are dealing with these Bootstrap classes. And these are some of the examples in Bootstrap. The entire lift, this entire lift website, this is Bootstrap. Okay, so you see the header stays there, whereas the footer is not fixed. Footer is this is the footer, and they are sticking with this pink color, so white, black and pink. So white, pink and this black color. The same black color is used for the text and the same black color is used for the background color here. So they are sticking with only 3 colors here, right? So this is used with Bootstrap, by the way. They are using Bootstrap framework. Similarly, this I don't know, this Riot design page, this is Bootstrap completely. Okay, so we will see into this Bootstrap framework later when we are done with the animations and everything. Clear, guys? Any questions at this point? If not, we'll see tomorrow. Okay. All right, guys. See you tomorrow then. Chalo. Bye.